What's up, Henry? So when was the last time you saw her?
This is 47-year-old Henry Dinkins. Within hours of reporting a 10-year-old girl missing, he would become the prime suspect in her disappearance. This is the actual interrogation footage that exposed a lie so horrific, it would shock an entire community. Before we dive into this disturbing case, if you're new to Crime 7, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We analyze real interrogations and break down how detectives catch killers in their own lies. Your support helps us bring you more cases like this. Now, let's get into it. July 10, 2020. Davenport, Iowa. A frantic 911 call comes in around 9:30 in the morning. A 10-year-old girl named Briasia Terrell is missing. She had spent the night at an apartment with her 8-year-old brother DL and their father figure, Henry Dinkins. But by morning, Briasia was gone. When police arrive at the scene, they expect this to be routine. Maybe the girl wandered off. Maybe she's at a friend's house. These cases usually resolve quickly. But as officers begin questioning Henry, something feels immediately wrong. So when was the last time you saw her? She was in the house. Yeah. When was the last time you saw her? 9:30, last night. Henry claims he last saw Briasia around 9:30 the previous night when she went to bed. But as detectives press for basic information, Henry stumbles.
Where your daughter is, you don't know your address, and you don't know your phone number.
For real,
He can't remember his own address. He can't remember his phone number. And when asked what Briasia was wearing, his answers are vague and uncertain. What was she last wearing? In the bed. What she had on? Some shorts. What color? I don't remember. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't. For a man who claims to have raised this little girl as his own daughter, Henry knows surprisingly little. He can't describe her clothing. He struggles with her height and weight. And perhaps most disturbing, he hasn't knocked on a single door or asked a single neighbor for help.
Listen, I go on all sorts of places. I don't care how big.
Is he aware of this?
What's that?
Is he aware of this?
Yeah.
Officers turn their attention to Aisha Langford, Briasia's mother and Henry's ex-girlfriend. She arrives at the scene visibly distraught, desperate for answers. The tension between her and Henry is immediate.
I never woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she would have never.
What you mean, 8 o'clock in the morning?
I'm just saying.
That ain't what I said. I never said.
I know you
Guys,
didn't say that.
this isn't the time to fight.
Exactly. I don't give a. You lost her though.
How did I lose?
Because you was watching her.
You lost her though. How? Because you was watching her, Henry. Aisha is furious. She trusted Henry with her daughter. Now Briasia is gone, and Henry can't explain how it happened. As the two argue, officers try to keep them focused. But it's clear that Aisha doesn't believe Henry's story. And neither do the detectives. While Aisha storms off to help her family search for Briasia, officers focus on the apartment. It belongs to Henry's girlfriend, Andrea. This is where Briasia spent her final night. When police arrive to search the residence, Andrea's behavior immediately raises red flags.
Listen, I go on all sorts of places. I don't care how big.
Is he aware of this?
What's that?
Is he aware of this?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just come in and take a quick look? I kind of do mind. My place is kind of in a wreck right now. Andrea hesitates. She doesn't want officers inside. When they finally enter, she claims Briasia was sleeping in her bed while she and Henry slept in the living room. Officers search every closet, every corner, every possible hiding spot. But there's no sign of the little girl. By now, Henry has disappeared from the scene. When he finally shows up at the police station hours later, detectives notice something odd. He's wearing the same outfit from earlier, except his shoes are different. It's a small detail, but one that would prove significant. Now detectives need to understand Henry's relationship with Briasia. According to Henry, he raised her even though his relationship with Aisha lasted only 2 years. He insists Briasia was like his own daughter. But as detectives dig deeper into the timeline of that night, Henry's story begins to fall apart. Run me through again when you noticed she was gone. When I came back the second time, you know, after being off for like 45 minutes, I did like a little check, you know, and she wasn't there. Henry claims he left the apartment twice that night. First to visit a friend named Vince. Then again to buy cigarettes at a quick shop on 53rd Street. But when detectives ask for specific times, Henry has none. He can't remember when he left. He can't remember when he returned. He doesn't even have his phone to verify the timeline because, according to him, he left it at the apartment. What time would that have been? Like I said, I don't remember. For someone who just lost a child, Henry's memory is conveniently blank. He claims he spent the rest of the night driving around with his son DL, searching for Briasia. But there's a problem with that story too. According to Aisha, she was already on her way to the police station when she spotted Henry speeding in the opposite direction, making a hard turn away from where he claimed he was going. I noticed Mr. Dinkins flying down the opposite way, making a really hard turn on Eastern. Henry wasn't going to report his daughter missing. He was running away from it. And when he finally did arrive at the station, he didn't drive there. He walked. Because his car, the Impala he'd been driving all morning, was parked a block away. So how is your car not here? I came straight here. The car that you were driving was the Impala, and the Impala is not here. I never said I was driving the Impala. But you left the apartment in the Impala, right? Yes. Henry is caught in his first major lie. He left the apartment in the Impala. He arrived at the station on foot. And when detectives ask where the car is now, he refuses to give a straight answer. Where is the car currently? It's reachable. I can get it to you guys at any time. Reachable. Not here. Not at the apartment. Reachable. It's the kind of answer guilty people give when they're trying to buy time. And detectives know it. Within minutes, they locate the Impala parked just 1 block from the station. Henry walked the rest of the way to avoid being seen with it. The question is, why? By now, it's clear to everyone in that interrogation room that Henry Dinkins is not a worried father. He's a suspect. And as the hours pass with no sign of Briasia, detectives begin applying pressure. They want to know who Henry called that morning. They want to see his text messages. They want access to his phone. And that's when Henry's composure begins to crack. Would you be fine if we downloaded the phone to get the call logs and the texts? For what reason? To cooperate with everything here. It helps everyone out. I can just show you my phone. I'll open it up for you right here. Henry doesn't want detectives downloading his phone. He'll show them the screen. He'll open apps in front of them. But a full download? That's where he draws the line. For someone who claims to have nothing to hide, Henry is acting like a man with everything to hide. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the interrogation, don't forget to hit that like button. It helps the algorithm show this video to more people who love true crime content. And if you have thoughts on Henry's behavior so far, drop them in the comments. We'll be reading through them. Now, let's continue. As detectives press Henry on his timeline, the cracks in his story grow wider. He claims he was out searching for Briasia all night. But surveillance footage would soon tell a very different story. While Henry sat in that interrogation room insisting he had nothing to hide, investigators were pulling security camera footage from every store, every gas station, every intersection near the apartment. And what they found was chilling. At 2:49 a.m., just hours after Briasia was last seen, Henry's Impala appears on camera at a Walmart. But Henry isn't searching for his missing daughter. He's shopping. And what he's buying would send investigators' suspicions into overdrive. What is Mr. Dinkins doing at this point in time? He's placing 2 bottles of Clorox bleach into his cart. Bleach. At 3 in the morning. While a 10-year-old girl is missing. Henry would later claim he was buying cleaning supplies for Andrea's apartment. But detectives aren't buying it. Because the timeline doesn't add up. If Briasia went missing sometime after midnight, and Henry was at Walmart buying bleach at 2:49 a.m., that means he knew she was gone within hours. So why didn't he call police immediately? Why didn't he call Aisha? Why did he wait until 9:30 the next morning to report her missing? The answer, detectives believe, is because Henry needed time. Time to clean. Time to dispose of evidence. Time to get his story straight. Back in the interrogation room, Henry continues to dodge questions. He claims he can't remember exact times. He can't remember what Briasia was wearing. He can't remember why he left the apartment twice in the middle of the night. But there's one thing Henry does remember. And it's the one thing that will ultimately destroy him. His phone. Despite his earlier reluctance, Henry finally agrees to unlock his device for detectives. He has no choice. Refusing would only make him look more guilty. So he hands it over, confident that whatever's on that phone won't be enough to convict him. He's wrong. As soon as investigators begin combing through Henry's messages, photos, and search history, the truth begins to emerge. And it's far worse than anyone imagined. The phone reveals a pattern of disturbing searches. Deleted messages. Erased call logs. And most damning of all, photos taken in locations that directly contradict Henry's timeline. Henry claimed he never left Davenport that night. But his phone's GPS data shows otherwise. Between the hours of midnight and 4 a.m., Henry's phone pinged off cell towers more than 20 miles away, in rural areas outside the city. These weren't random locations. They were isolated. Remote. The kind of places someone would go if they didn't want to be seen. Why would an innocent man drive to the middle of nowhere in the dead of night while his daughter is missing? Detectives confront Henry with the phone data. And for the first time, his calm demeanor shatters. I don't understand how I got suspicious with my own kids, man. These are my kids. You know what I'm saying? But they're not his kids. Briasia isn't his biological daughter. She was the child of his ex-girlfriend, a little girl he claimed to love like his own. And now, that little girl is gone. Her mother is devastated. Her brother is traumatized. And the one person who was supposed to protect her, the man she called a father figure, is sitting in an interrogation room lying to police. As the interview stretches into its second hour, detectives lay out the evidence piece by piece. The timeline that doesn't match. The bleach purchase at Walmart. The GPS data showing Henry in remote locations. The deleted messages. The changed shoes. Every answer Henry gives only digs him deeper. And then, investigators reveal the final piece of the puzzle. Cadaver dogs. While Henry sat in the interrogation room, K9 units were deployed to search the areas where his phone had pinged that night. And in a wooded area off a rural highway, the dogs alerted. They found something. A scent. Traces of human decomposition in a location Henry's phone placed him at during the exact window Briasia went missing. The net is closing. And Henry knows it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got nothing to hide. But he does. And investigators are about to prove it. As detectives continue building their case, Henry's girlfriend Andrea is brought in for questioning. She's the last person besides Henry who saw Briasia alive. And her story raises even more questions. Andrea claims she was asleep the entire night. She didn't hear Briasia leave. She didn't hear Henry leave. She didn't hear anything. But cell phone records show Andrea and Henry exchanged several texts that night, messages that Andrea conveniently can't remember. What were you and Henry texting about at 1:30 in the morning? I don't know. Just normal stuff. Normal stuff. In the middle of the night. While a child is missing. Andrea is either lying or willfully ignorant. Either way, her cooperation with the investigation is minimal at best. She refuses to let police search her car. She refuses to provide her phone for download. And like Henry, she lawyers up almost immediately. By the end of the first day, police have enough to hold Henry on suspicion. But they don't have a body. And without a body, building a murder case is nearly impossible. So the search intensifies. Volunteers from across the community join law enforcement in combing through wooded areas, abandoned properties, and rural highways. Aisha makes tearful pleas on local news, begging anyone with information to come forward. Please, if you know anything, if you saw anything, help us bring Briasia home. But as days turn into weeks, hope begins to fade. The case goes cold. And Henry Dinkins walks free, protected by a legal system that requires proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Until March 2021. 9 months after Briasia Terrell disappeared, a fisherman near DeWitt, Iowa makes a grim discovery. Human remains, partially concealed in a wooded area off a rural road. The location is less than 30 miles from Davenport. And it's one of the exact areas Henry's phone pinged the night Briasia went missing. Forensic teams are dispatched. Dental records are compared. And within days, the worst is confirmed. The remains belong to 10-year-old Briasia Terrell. She's been dead for 9 months. And Henry Dinkins, the man who claimed to love her, the man who raised her as his own, is arrested and charged with first-degree murder and kidnapping. The trial doesn't begin until 2022. By then, the community has already made up its mind. The evidence is overwhelming. The surveillance footage showing Henry buying bleach. The GPS data placing him at the location where Briasia's body was found. The deleted messages. The lies. The contradictions. All of it points to one man. In court, prosecutors lay out their case methodically. They play the interrogation footage, showing jurors every lie, every dodge, every inconsistency in Henry's story. They bring in forensic experts who testify about the cell phone data. They present the Walmart surveillance footage, timestamped and undeniable. And they call Aisha Langford to the stand, where she tearfully recounts the last time she saw her daughter alive. I trusted him with my baby. And he took her from me. Henry's defense team tries to argue that the evidence is circumstantial. That GPS data isn't proof of murder. That buying bleach isn't a crime. But the jury isn't convinced. Because when you add up all the circumstantial evidence, a clear picture emerges. A picture of a man who killed a little girl and spent 9 months trying to get away with it. After 3 days of deliberation, the verdict comes in. Guilty. First-degree murder. Guilty. Kidnapping resulting in death. Henry Dinkins shows no emotion. He sits stone-faced as the judge reads the verdict, just as he sat stone-faced in that interrogation room 2 years earlier. But this time, there's no walking away. This time, justice has caught up with him. Sentencing comes weeks later. The judge doesn't mince words. Mr. Dinkins, you were entrusted with the care of a vulnerable child. You betrayed that trust in the most heinous way imaginable. This court finds no mitigating factors. You will spend the rest of your natural life in prison without the possibility of parole. Life without parole. Henry Dinkins will die behind bars. And Briasia Terrell, a bright, beautiful 10-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her, will never get the chance to grow up. The case of Briasia Terrell is a stark reminder of how monsters can hide in plain sight. Henry Dinkins wasn't a stranger. He wasn't a random predator. He was someone Briasia knew. Someone she trusted. Someone her family believed would protect her. If this case teaches us anything, it's that trust must be earned. And that when children go missing, every second counts. Aisha Langford now advocates for missing children, working with organizations to raise awareness and prevent other families from enduring the nightmare she lived through. Briasia's legacy lives on through her mother's activism, through the community that rallied to find her, and through the detectives who never gave up on bringing her killer to justice. If you want to see more cases like this, where we break down real interrogations and analyze how detectives catch killers, subscribe to Crime 7 and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment below telling us what case you want us to cover next. And if this story moved you, share it. Briasia's story deserves to be told. Justice for Briasia Terrell. Never forgotten.